Right now, your dog is waiting for you somewhere in your house, getting quieter about it every single day in ways that look completely normal from the outside. Behavioral researchers have spent 30 years putting cameras in empty homes. What those cameras captured, hour by hour, is something most owners never see. Your dog looks fine when you walk back in. That's exactly the problem. Stay until the end, because the last point changes everything. Let's start with the sign you've already seen and completely misunderstood. Sign 1, the grief that starts before you even leave. You haven't left yet. You're still standing in your hallway, and something in the room has already shifted. Your dog's ears go back slightly. Their body gets low. They follow you from room to room with an expression most owners call clingy or sweet or just their personality. That is not clinginess. That is the beginning of grief. Research from the University of Vienna confirmed what cameras had been showing for years. Dogs develop what scientists call pre-departure anxiety, a measurable stress response that begins not when you leave, but the moment your dog recognizes that leaving is coming. Keys, shoes, a specific jacket, the sound of your alarm at a particular time of morning. Your dog has memorized your departure routine down to details you have never consciously noticed, and every time those signals appear, their cortisol begins rising before you have even touched the front door. And here is where the standard advice falls apart. For years, owners have been told to make goodbyes brief and unemotional. The Royal Veterinary College tracked 145 dogs through their first 6 months and found the goodbye itself was almost irrelevant. What mattered was something that happens at the other end of the absence. We'll get to that. But here is the finding that makes this even harder to solve. Researchers at the Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona reviewed the most popular desensitization technique, picking up your keys randomly, putting on your shoes, and sitting back down. For some dogs, it reduced anxiety. For others, it actually increased it. Because the problem was never the keys. The problem was the uncertainty about what happens after you go. Your dog is not afraid of your shoes. They are afraid you will not come back, because first, you need to know what's happening on the other side of the door. Sign 2, what your dog does the moment the door closes. Most owners imagine their dog barking after they leave. Some dogs do, but for many, the response is far quieter and in many ways far more devastating to witness. Cameras have captured what dogs actually do in the hours after owners leave. Many go directly to the front door and sit. Some lie down with their chin flat on the floor, completely still, facing the door. Others find something belonging to their owner, a sock, a shoe, a worn piece of clothing, and hold it quietly. Not chewing it, not playing with it, just holding it. This behavior has a name in canine research: contact seeking with an absent attachment figure, the dog equivalent of what a small child does when a parent disappears from the room. Not stubbornness, not boredom, emotional distress expressed through stillness. A 2015 study in PLOS 1 confirmed that dogs show significantly elevated cortisol during owner absence compared to being left with a familiar person. The stress is not about being alone. It is specifically about being without you. And this is where the most common advice breaks down entirely. The number one recommendation owners receive: get a second dog. It has almost no support in the research. A 2021 study of 77 dogs found that male dogs in multi-dog households actually vocalized more during owner absence than single dogs. Your dog is not missing company. They are missing you specifically. A second dog doesn't fill that space. It just means two dogs having different problems. But here is what the cameras also found, and this is the part that reframes everything. The distress doesn't follow a clean arc. Every 23 to 28 minutes, there's a new spike: vocalization, movement, then quiet, then another spike, not calming, cycling. The silence between those spikes is not peace. It is a nervous system running out of ways to express what it's feeling. And some dogs eventually go quiet, not because they've settled, but for a reason that's much harder to understand. Sign 3, the reunion. You have been misreading your entire life. You come home. Your dog explodes, jumping, spinning, barking, running in circles. You feel loved and move on with your evening. What you just witnessed was not excitement. It was hours of accumulated emotional tension finding its only exit the moment their source of safety walked back through the door. The bigger the greeting, the harder the hours were. But here is the part almost no one talks about. Some dogs gradually stop showing intense reunion behavior. They greet you calmly, wag their tail, and walk away. Most owners read this as the dog maturing, becoming more relaxed. And here's where a very popular piece of advice causes real damage. When owners come home to destruction and react with visible frustration, raised voices telling the dog off. The Royal Veterinary College study found those dogs were 6 times more likely to develop separation problems. Because the dog doesn't connect your frustration to something that happened 4 hours ago. They connect it to your arrival. Gradually, your arrival becomes something to brace for. They panic when you leave. They panic when you come back. The whole day becomes a loop of anticipatory stress. Behavioral researchers call the quiet greeting something else entirely: learned helplessness, a state where a dog has adapted to repeated loss by reducing the intensity of their own attachment response. It is not peace, it is resignation. In the 1960s, Martin Seligman documented this in a series of experiments that became foundational to psychology. Organisms under prolonged inescapable stress eventually stop responding at all, not because they feel better, because their nervous system has stopped believing their behavior can change anything. A dog that greets you calmly after years of long separations may not have found peace with your schedule. It may be a dog whose hope has simply gone quiet. The dog that seems the most fine is the easiest dog to walk past. Sign 4, your dog has been crying every day and you never knew. Dogs cannot produce tears in response to emotion. So the idea that dogs don't cry has gone unchallenged for a long time, and that misunderstanding has allowed something to stay invisible that should never have stayed invisible. Because dogs cry every single day, just not with tears, whimpering at the door, pacing for hours on cameras, owners set up expecting to find nothing, losing appetite on days with longer separations, carrying your belongings from room to room, not chewing them, not playing with them, just moving them, the way a person might touch things belonging to someone they miss. These are not behavior problems. They are not training failures. And yet the most common advice is this: redirect them with a puzzle toy. Leave the television on. The research says otherwise. Puzzle toys provide minutes of engagement at best. For anxious dogs, they can backfire entirely. Once the food is gone, the dog registers you are still gone and the real distress begins. The television left on shows no measurable effect versus silence. And there is a layer to this almost nobody talks about. A 2019 study measuring long-term cortisol in severely anxious dogs found something that stopped researchers entirely. In the most affected dogs, cortisol levels were sometimes lower than in calmer dogs. Not because they were less stressed, because their stress system had been running so long it had started to burn out. The dog that seems completely fine, no pacing, no noise, may not be a dog who has settled. It may be a dog whose system has simply exhausted itself. The silence is not calm. It is a nervous system that has run out of ways to keep signaling. And then in 2022, researchers at Azabu University in Japan found that dogs produce measurably more tears during reunions with their owners than with strangers. Dogs may experience something genuinely close to human emotional crying, a real physiological response tied specifically to the people they love. Your dog has been crying for you every single day, in a language made of restlessness, and held socks and noses pressed against cold windows. The only reason you didn't know was because nobody told you what it looked like. Now you know. What the cameras have been showing us all along, the product industry around separation anxiety is enormous. Calming supplements, pheromone diffusers, anxiety wraps, Most owners have tried at least one. Most will say the results were somewhere between modest and nothing. The most rigorous placebo-controlled studies on pheromone diffusers found no significant improvement in barking, scratching, whining, or heart rate, because almost all of them treat the 8 hours you're gone. The real point of intervention is the other 16. A 2019 study at Linköping University measured long-term cortisol in 58 dog owner pairs, not the spike from a single bad moment, the slow accumulation across weeks and months captured in hair samples. The levels were synchronized. Stressed owner, stressed dog. Calm owner, calm dog. The owner's cortisol was predicting the dog's, not the reverse. Your dog's stress baseline is being written, in part, by yours. The 8 hours don't happen in a vacuum. They happen on top of everything already accumulated in the other 16. The most important moment in your dog's day is not when you leave. It is not even when you come home. It is every ordinary moment in between. The nervous system they live alongside. The sense of safety that either accumulates or drains a little at a time. Your dog does not need the perfect departure routine. They need to know in their nervous system, and not just their brain, that you come back, that the door closing and the door opening are the same event, just in different order. Every time you come home, you prove it again. Your dog has been showing you this every single day. Now you know what it means. Subscribe so you never miss what we uncover next. If this changed something for you, drop a comment below. Does your dog show signs before you've even picked up your keys?